Hey, Gary.
Hey, I'm going to pause the recording, but somebody remind me to restart it, okay? And I will officially call the meeting to order and move on to our first agenda topic, which is the election of a committee chairperson and vice president. So this is either an opportunity for one of you to want to say you would like to do that and everybody else agree, or it's an opportunity to pick Hans because he's coming late to the party.
So generally here, we need someone to nominate either themselves or another member. And then you certainly can have a co-chair. You're not obligated to, but not a co-chair, a vice chair. We typically do in case, the chair has to miss the meeting. So we would normally start by electing the chair and then follow that by electing the vice chair.
Yes, Paul.
I'd like to nominate Lou Lamont. I don't see a flinch.
I was reaching to nominate you, Paul.
You may get a chance in a sec here. So we would need a second, and then if there are no other nominations, then you would all vote on that.
So how do I get a second from somebody if everybody's muted?
It looks like Melissa unmuted.
I'll second that.
Got a second for me.
And Jarrell.
I got a third.
Yeah, you did. So Carrie, it doesn't sound like there are any other nominations. So.
Yeah, are there not hearing any other nominations? We'll take a vote. Paul?
Yes.
Lou?
Yes.
Melissa?
Yes.
And Jarrell?
Yes.
Great, thank you. Lou, congratulations. And I can now hand over the meeting to you to find yourself a vice chair.
I'd like to nominate Paul Grisanti as vice chair.
I would like to nominate Jarrell Taylor.
So neither of those has a second.
All right, do we have any other nominations? Do we have a second for any of those nominations?
Are both nominations going to die for lack of a second?
So far.
Okay.
Jarrell, you can second yourself.
You just muted yourself, Jarrell.
I will second that.
What are you seconding?
Well, you can't really second yourself, though. So
you can do it, Lou.
No, I've already nominated Paul.
Right. Hans says he'll be on in 30 seconds. There's a power outage here and he's on the air. And if I told him if he waited too long, he might get nominated as the vice chair. So.
That'd be the thing to do to nominate him.
It's worked in Malibu politics for a very long time.
So I think we did hear Jarrell second himself.
Okay, as soon as Hans is connected. Hans, are you here?
I'm here. Thank you, and I'm sorry.
Okay, Hans.
Okay, so through some quirk of fate, I've been nominated chair, and Paul and Jarrell have been nominated for vice chair. And so now we need to have a vote. All those in favor of Paul Grisanti, raise their hands.
Lou, I'm not sure you got a second on that one.
Well, if I don't have a second on it, then I guess Jarrell, let's vote for the other nominee that we have a second for, which is Jarrell Taylor. All those in favor of Jarrell, raise your hand, please.
Must be Canaan.
So it looks like it's unanimous, Jarell.
All righty, I'll take it.
Thank you very much.
Welcome to the halls of power.
Where nominations are
Alright, so I
put
guess-
up in a railroad station.
Yeah. All right, so then I can call the meeting to order.
Yeah,
Officially, I
technically,
called it to order, so I think we can move right on to the next thing, which is the approval of the minutes from April 28th.
All right, so I need a motion for the approval of the minutes.
I make a motion to approve the minutes from the meeting of May 28th. Was it May 28th? June 28th, May 28th,
April.
April 28th.
And do we have a second?
I will second that.
Okay, all those in favor, please raise your hand or say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. So the minutes are accepted. Going back down to the agenda. We're here for public comments. Is there anyone from the public that wishes to speak on any matter of the agenda? Apparently not. Okay, let's move on down to program update. Is that you, Carrie, or Steve?
That's me.
Steve will do it, but I'll bring up the financial report.
Oh, thanks, Gary.
Yeah, and
Okay.
let me make it bigger so somebody can possibly see it.
Okay,
Okay.
so this will be pretty brief for a couple of reasons. Primarily because we're going to spend the bulk of today, I think, to talk about the the high school project and our entitlements there, but also because in the reporting period we haven't had a significant amount of spending from Measure M. So if you scroll down just a bit more, so I can get that bottom line, Carrie, what you'll see is that our soft costs, which is non-construction costs, were just shy of 2 million. Right there, and our hard costs this reporting period were about 400,000. So, and then we do carry our running totals there as well, so you can see them. But the bulk of our expenditures this, excuse me, this period were design costs. We had 891,000 on the new high school building, which is approaching half of what our soft costs were. We also have our another significant chunk would be the Malibu campus plan expenditures. Now that's obviously very related. When we're dealing with we're going forward with our entitlements right now, and there's two parts of it. The specific plan, which is kind of a change in code for our project, for our site rather, which will establish what the building codes are essentially for our site. That is related to the Malibu campus plan. And then of course, the design of the actual high school building is the phase one high school, phase one high school building project. And then we have our centralized expenses is the other big chunk that we have down near the bottom. That's all of our staff time. So our department's time, attorneys, what else do we have on centralized? I think that's probably it for now on that.
The CEQA cost was previously there.
Oh, thank you. That's right. So when we did the EIR. So again, not a whole lot to report. We anticipate starting construction in the coming quarter, which it'll bump up our expenditures, of course, significantly. And there will be a lot more to review and report on this form in our coming meetings. But for now, that's pretty much all we have. I mean, we don't generally go through the specifics of expenditures. If you had a question on any of them, obviously I'd be happy to do that. But you can see what we're doing here, and we normally give our specifics on the projects during the project updates, which is the next section here. So unless there are questions on the financials, I think, Lou, if it's okay with you, we'll move forward to 5A2, which would be the main projects that we have at the high school.
Just let me ask you one question, just to get clarification. What exactly does encumbrances mean in relation to these numbers?
Oh, sure. Thank you. Okay. So the encumbrances are amounts that we are under contract for, but have not yet expended. So we first
Okay.
show our expenditures, and then we show the remaining balance that is encumbered under contract, but not yet spent.
Okay, thank you.
And then you can
Okay,
see
we can move on to the second part.
Okay. So, and again, I think this will probably be the bulk of the things we'll talk about today. The high school, middle school and high school projects, Building G and interim projects. Building G was demolished this, when do we do that? Spring break, Carrie?
No, we did Building G last summer.
Last summer? Okay.
Yeah.
So that is complete. We have now moved over the reason Building G needed to be removed was because for the work that's starting this summer, we had to get a number of portables off of the Cabrillo campus. And those portables have been used by the the high school and middle school for, well, since we put them there for several years. And we still need that capacity. So we've moved them onto the main campus, and that work has gone forward relatively smoothly. May have a little hiccup with the city on that, but I think we're going to be okay. The phase 1 Malibu campus plan is in design. I'm sorry, is in DSA. We're anticipating approval relatively soon, but that really becomes secondary to the entitlements because, for example, if we had approval today, we could not move forward with approval from DSA. We could not move forward with construction until we get the first the specific plan approved and then the coastal development permit. And just as a reminder, the specific plan is for the entire Malibu campus plan, which we've reviewed. It's all of the phases of it. The coastal development permit will be issued for each phase of construction. So our first phase of construction is the new high school building. However, there's some work that we would like to do prior to issuance of that CDP. We requested a separate CDP from the city to do just the abatement, demolition. Well, I guess we don't need it for abatement, but for the demolition and some soil removal related to abatement. So we have some hazardous materials and soils there. We've requested that the city give us a standalone CDP for what we call the Cabrillo decommissioning to take that campus out of use. And we're hoping to have that on the Planning Commission meeting on July 13th. Technically, the work that we're requesting under that standalone decommissioning CDP does not rely on approval of a specific plan. In other words, it's all within, it's all allowable under current code within the LCP. But the issue that we have is that the city needs to have approved or adopted the EIR prior to issuing that CDP. Now the Planning Commission has moved the EIR forward to City Council along with the specific plan. We had anticipated having that on the first meeting in June, and that didn't happen. I think we also then hoped for it on the second meeting in June. That didn't happen. We are currently scheduled to be on the July 11th City Council meeting, at which time the city would ideally approve the specific plan and adopt the EIR, after which we can get the decommissioning CDP approved. We're working as closely as we can with the city, trying to be good partners and teammates. It's been a struggle. Carrie, do you want to give a kind of a recap of what we've done and where we are on overall entitlements?
Okay, so I don't really want to tell or rehash the entire story all the way unless y'all specifically ask for that. Just saying that we started this well more than a year ago, and in December we submitted most of the initial things. So we've been waiting for a couple months for a lot of these pieces. So where we are with the specific plan is it feels like we have most everything in. There's just some traffic issues. I feel like we had a meeting yesterday that resolved most of those. Now it's just getting the last pieces to them so that it can make it to the city council on the 11th. We have taken the planning commission recommendations, easily accepted a few of those, asked or made some questions for the city council on a few of those others. And so those are headed for the city council. And then the EIR, just to remind you, is the district is the primary responsible party for the EIR. Lead agency. Thank you for the phrase that I was looking for. And then the city, mostly because of the coastal plan, they have to then certify it. So that's what's happening, and that has to go through. We responded to all comments from the city when we were doing the EIR, and we even held up the board approval of that while we resolved a few more issues in January. So that was done in January. This decommissioning plan, we've gone through a couple of different emendations as to how to get here. And in some ways, the challenge, our challenge, all the way through this is that the local coastal plan does not really contemplate something like what we're doing at the high school, where it's a multi-phase plan where you're building things that are different than, houses or small businesses. It just doesn't exist in the plan. And, and even now we have, sorry, I've got somebody drilling across the way. Even now we have some conflicts that, there's language in the plan that says you have to actually have every single thing planned and all of the things for the CDP done before you can even start, and all the funding in place before anything. It's just hard because it doesn't contemplate. It's just written not to contemplate what we do. So that's where we do feel like, though, with the decommissioning plan, we have now a way, and the real driver on that is there is an exception that allows that to go through based on the environmental concerns and the public need. And what we have, we know that in the soil, we have PCBs, we have lead, and we try to always get those out during the summer when students aren't there. So we'd like to demo, every one of our other demos of buildings, building A, B, building G, building D, we did during the summer predominantly when students weren't around. So we want to get this done. So if we can get that approved on the 13th, then we can get the majority of that building moved out. And then we know we're going to have to also abate and take out some soil. And so that's what's happening for that plan. And then we'll still be working on getting the CDP. Okay, let me say, after we get the specific plan through the city, the first meeting is the July 11th meeting. The second hearing is August 8th. There have to be 2 hearings. Then after that, it goes to Coastal Commission, which then that amendment to the LCP has to be approved by Coastal. We hope that they do it quickly because we're already seeing some delay. But then we'll go to the city, we think sometime in September, to planning to have the CDP for phase 1 approved. And we believe we have most all of the things they've asked. We keep getting asked for a few additional things. We think most everything is in place for that to be accepted and move through. And that's just to build the high school. Because we'll have to go back for 3-4 more CDPs along the process, for each additional phase. And we know that that's ahead of us. But if we can get that moved on, as far as the Division of State Architects, the first package, which is the rough grading and all of the utilities package, has already been approved by DSA. The second package, we believe, will get approved late October, early November. But I think we'll really just be waiting for Coastal. That's our critical path, is to get Coastal approval. Does that cover everything, Steve, or is there anything else you want us to say?
No, I think it does. I mean, this has been a saga for months that Carrie and I have kind of been entrenched in. So we're trying not to gloss over anything, bring you guys up to speed as much as we can. but it's, obviously if there are any questions or if you want any details on it, we certainly can go into that. Our hang up recently has been traffic and public works, which I think Carrie mentioned, but we think we've found I won't say a workaround, but a solution for that. And this one I will give you because it's been a significant impact to us so far. The specific plan and the EIR contemplate a maximum capacity of 1,200 students between the two campuses. So that's middle and elementary at 1,200 students. The reality is that we would, at the beginning, we'll be lucky to be half of that. We think a more reasonable top end estimate of total enrollment between the two schools would be about 1,000. And so we've done our analysis on, we had done our analysis on 1,000. Public Works said, but if there are ever 1,200, then we will have impacts to the level of service at a number of intersections, and therefore you would need to do much more significant improvements. So it might be things like a traffic signal or whatever, but I mean, there would be improvements that would be needed. And our, after working through it with Public Works, what we have settled on is we're going to move the specific plan forward with based on the analysis for 1,000 students. And if at some future point we get to 1,200, we'll then implement whatever mitigation measures are necessary. We'll identify them now, but we wouldn't move them, we wouldn't implement them until we get to the point where we need it. And of course, there's the concern from the city of like, well, gosh, that's one more thing we've got to monitor and implement. But because, as Carrie mentioned, we have to go back for multiple CDPs, those are trigger points. And at each of those CDPs, when we submit to the city, we'll look and discuss with the city what the enrollment is and what projected enrollment is. And if we needed to implement the mitigation measures, they would be done as part of each of those later phases. I see Jarrell's hand up.
Steve, is there any kind of financial impact to just put that at 1,200 right now? Considering, what we know as far as the permit process that came out of COVID, given the willingness that we can separate sooner than later, where we may have to increase our geographic layout. Is there any problems with just starting at 1,200 just for space and everything else going on in Malibu Park?
Sure. The short answer is yes, there is a financial impact. The mitigation measures that might be required certainly do have a cost. And I think we would all be happy if we had this problem of exceeding 1,000 students. But I can also tell you that right now Carrie, do you have the seabeds?
Yeah, I've got it
available. Our first grade and kindergarten classes between Malibu Elementary and Webster are very low. So
let me see if I can
a little tougher to
bump
see.
that up a little bigger. Okay.
So can you scroll
this
to
is
the
our
top?
2021 seabeds number.
Right.
So
and it's combined between Malibu and Webster Elementaries. We've got 63 first graders. I think that's column F, right?
yeah.
Or
No, sorry, 54. Hang on, let me go.
54 kindergartners and
54 kindergartners, 51 first graders.
So we're, even up through third grade, we're in the 60s, 63. So if we were at 60 times the 7 grades, we'd be at 420. So those 4 years, kindergarten through third grade, combined right now are what, 230?
If I put in dumb, it really won't work for me. Yeah. 231.
231. So the likelihood that we're going to be anywhere near 1,000 and certainly anywhere near 1,200 is exceptionally low. So you know, I think I may have said this to you guys before, but high schoolers don't sneak up on you. You see them coming. We would love to see a year over year enrollment increase in all of our grades across the board, but it won't be sudden. We'll know that it's coming. So we'll have plenty of time if we can get the enrollment up like we hope we will, whether it's, you know, after unification or just because, you know, the schools are so awesome, you know, and the facilities are so amazing that people want to stay. Then we'll have plenty of time to implement those. And there's not really a cost impact of waiting. I mean, marginally, you know, the cost of construction may go up, but it isn't like, you know, for example, if you were building a house and you said, well, we could either build a 3-bedroom if we don't have any more kids, or we could build a 4-bedroom because we might have another kid. Adding that extra bedroom when you're building the house is significantly less expensive than adding it after you've completed the house and you start a whole new project. We will have projects going forward through phases 2, 3, and 4, where we'll be able to implement those without a significant cost impact. Does that make sense, Jarrell?
Yeah, it makes total sense. I was just wondering, like, yeah, while, you know, like you said, while you have the Band-Aid ripped off, let's just put that in there, because, you know, with everything going on around the area too, just go ahead and just get all of that space allotted just for just any kind of projects and things that may go on with the high school. Because, you know, I was just there 2 weeks ago for something, and it's like, you're looking at it, it's like, we could have a little bit different of a layout. So it's kind of better to keep our open field with everything and have the space for all the different things that may be going on versus a little bit too little.
Sure. No, I mean, and like I said, it's a good thought. It's just at this point, it doesn't quite add up to bring it to that 1,200 right now.
But one of the other things that's going to happen is when we get those people back in their homes again, that's going to increase it, but that's going to happen over time. And I think you may be right about approaching it as a phased process, because you will see it coming. But I think you're going to see it coming as scientifically as you've seen it before, because when those houses start filling up with people and kids, those are going to be large chunks in various grades, not necessarily just starting with kindergarten.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not to mention, a lot of those houses are being built with ADUs, and the possibility of a major dramatic demographic change out here is there.
Yeah, we will definitely be keeping an eye on that. One of our commitments to the city was, when we get enrollment data, you're going to get it. So we will share our enrollment data with city planning department, so that we're in alignment as to what will need to happen when. Okay, thanks for sharing that, Karen.
Actually, and then another little small point. So can we also get this, can we pretty much have this at every meeting? This information, that would be good.
Mm-hmm. Sure, I mean, our enrollment information is updated annually. So what we can do is, I think we get the data in November. So whatever our next meeting is after November, we would gladly share that. I think that's a great idea, Jarrell. We'll share that with the BOC. We'll show all Malibu enrollment just to keep you guys in the loop. But it won't, I mean, it only changes once a year.
Well, okay.
We can remind, I mean, we can put it on just to remind you
Sure.
where it is. We get what's called the CBEDS number. It's always October 15th is the day that they count every year. So that's the official date of what our enrollment is.
Just from personal experience, I've just seen, you know, my daughter's class change just in the middle of the year too. Yeah. With, you know, the December, January. So it'd just be interesting to have it maybe 4 times a year. How about if we can get that?
Sure, we can do that. Carrie, do we have access to that data? I mean, what we get is the official.
I can always ask for it. You know, not being a certificated administrator, I'm not signed on to the program that tells everything about all the students, but I just can ask for it. I can always get the number.
You could get it. You could get it from Dr. Kelly or from Tara.
Yeah, I know. I can get it when I need it. It's just,
yeah.
You know,
okay.
Yeah. No, I will say that we did see. I mean, because of COVID, we saw a more dramatic change between December and January this year than we've ever seen. You know, and that I think is because people felt more comfortable about coming back to campus than they did in August.
So Kerry, you're saying it was an increase between December and January.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that should be reflected in the next set of numbers.
Yeah.
Okay.
We take a little more wider view normally, but I can certainly get that information for you.
So the one question I do have, and based on what you're talking about, in terms of getting all our entitlements and clearances and various government bodies signing off and everything, what is this doing to our schedule? That, you know, we kind of had a loose idea when we were starting, because I know the longer we delay things, the more expensive it gets.
It's hurting our schedule. You're exactly right. So our intent was on June 10th, the day after kids left, was to start tearing down the Cabrillo building. But we've not yet gotten the entitlements to do that. So we're now looking at July 13th as being the earliest we can get that approved. And then, you know, it'll take a few days to get out there and get everybody fired up. So we lost a month there. The delay in approval of the specific plan, which is really 2 months or more from when it was anticipated, that has a back end effect, right? So the demolitions, you know, the additional cost for demolition is minor, if anything at all. The problem is that we're pushing the entire project back, and our contractor has told us to anticipate about $1 million a month in escalation for delays. And, you know, we're talking about $100 million-ish project. So, you know, it's 1% per month, which is similar to escalation that we've seen and we've been hearing about throughout the industry. So, you know, we don't have a hard number yet, Lou, because until we have a start date, we don't actually have the contractor's hard numbers. But we do anticipate that that it has already and will continue to impact the schedule, and that necessarily will impact the budget.
So for our construction, we are scheduled to start full construction sometime in November. If we get approval of the decommissioning of the Juan Cabrillo in July, we still will be on task to be able to do that. So then the challenge is that with the specific, so then what really is the holdup is the specific plan. If it shows up at the coastal right after the board meeting, the city council meeting on the 8th of August, if it goes right away and Coastal Commission magic happens and they approve it in 3 months, we're going to be back on schedule. If it takes the 4, 6 months, 9 months that sometimes coastal takes, then every month they're delayed is not just $1 million, but if we don't start construction in November, we won't make August 24 opening.
Right. So it'll impact the opening.
Okay.
You know,
all right. So
now, if you have any ability to do Coastal Commission magic, we'd appreciate that.
Yeah. You know? Yeah. Malibu is always right on the top of the list for the Coastal Commission, I can assure you.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that that's the list we want to be on, though.
So my obviously the terrifying prospect is, you know, we have a certain amount of money in this bond issue to build this school. And I want to make sure that we have enough. And I want to know ahead of time if it looks like we're going to be running into a problem, so we can start to plan for that. And I know that that's not an issue right this minute, but I know we have to, you know, put that in our mindset, because then, as you know, nothing is the way it used to be. And it's all much more complicated to do everything.
That's right. So
okay.
That is top of mind for us, Lou, and we'll continue to monitor it and discuss it. And it looks like
Hi, maybe this is too early to talk about this, but the Santa Monica College District just announced plans for a $375 million bond issue that includes, as a sweetener for Malibu, a performing arts center at Malibu High School. I haven't heard anything about how much money that is or what they're planning. Would it be a joint city college district SMMUSD facility? Would this replace the center campus with a dilapidated old auditorium, cafeteria, food services thing? What are we looking at?
So the answer is a lot of, sorry, the answer is a lot of yeses in there. And I'll let Carrie update you on the meeting that we literally got off of a minute before we came here. We met with Don Gerard and the college. But to answer your question, yes, it would replace the existing old cafeteria that is the theater there. We don't have a number as to what the college would put in. I know that a couple of city council members, after working with Craig Foster, had approached the college about a number that we would like. I think the college scoffed at that a little bit. It was a little higher than they anticipated. But we do anticipate that they would, well, I don't think that they're going to be willing to fund the entire thing. If we did get their funding and we decided to move that forward, it would change the phasing. That would become likely phase 2, whereas the theater was originally, I think, going to be phase 3 or 4. We might move that forward, which would allow construction to continue and would probably push back a further bond issuance from the district to a later date. Carrie, do you want to recap the meeting that we had with Don?
Sure. Since we didn't specifically agendize this, but we did somewhat agendize this, could I just bring up that presentation and run through it really fast?
I think you can, because we do have, as an item, we have the Malibu campus plan. I mean, it's phase 1, but it's close enough. Okay, so this is the presentation that we just showed the college. You know, as you can see, this is sort of our existing plan. Y'all have seen this before, so I'm going to move a little more quickly through this part. You know, with the new AB building that opened and the new E building, and then the other ones where we've taken out D and G. We're moving these portables right now into the G area, and then, you know, pool portables. And this is Cabrillo that we would take down, you know, hopefully starting in July. And then this is the current master plan of where we're going, but this is all phases completed. So the first phase being the high school building, which is right here. Second phase right now is the completion of the middle school, which is a multi-purpose gym space, outdoor eating area, a few other classrooms that match up with the ABE, which completes the middle school. And then the joint use bits, we would have the new gymnasium PE area, the new aquatic center, and then the new theater performing arts center, media and performing arts center here. So this is our plan, you know, and right now it's in a phase 1, 2, 3, 4 plan, but we could alter the plan phasing. We just have, after phase 1 is done, we can build any of this next, is the important bit. Circulation, I'm not going to cover this at the moment. So this is what phase 1 building sort of looks like, and it does sort of shift the road out to the side. So with we have another alternative plan. We haven't shown this around a lot, but we do have the new gym here that was built in the 90s. There is a possibility of keeping it with additions, like adding a new front lobby area, weight rooms and everything's attached to it. And especially since we made some changes to the high school building layout, it means that we could possibly put the theater right out up front right here. And this we could go ahead and build as soon as the high school building is completed. So program, here's what the current program is for the visual performing arts building. Big things are the band and orchestra room, ensemble rooms, choir room space, a black box theater, that's a multi-purpose space of about 2,000 seats, a main theater of about 5,600. This would seat 375 in a fixed capacity, but it's going to be a very variable space. It's going to have a lot of, it's not a straight like fixed seating experience all the time. And I'll show you some pictures of what that means in a little bit.
and then all the
Real quick,
vaccinated.
Carrie, you mentioned 2,000 seats for the black box
Oh,
theater.
2,000 square feet. Sorry.
Yeah,
Yes,
big black
thank
box
you.
theater.
No, thank you. That'd be a gigantic black box theater. Thank you for correcting me. Yes, 2,000 square feet. So this, you know, it's a 30,000 square foot facility is being planned. Here's our current cost with an escalation to midpoint of 25. So around 65 million. These performing arts centers are more expensive and everything's more expensive in Malibu. So it's quite a bit, but that's what we anticipate for construction cost.
And how far is the college district going to meet you on that?
We don't have any indication on that yet, Hans.
They're not ready to say that. That was part of the meeting we were doing was showing them what the you know, what it was that we were looking to do.
So they're putting a bond issue on the ballot saying we're going to build a performing arts center in Malibu, and they've not got any idea what it costs, and they've got not any idea how much they can spend.
They know what it costs. They haven't committed to anything yet. And I should also point out that the 65 million is construction only. It does not include inspection. It does not include design or construction management or any of that stuff. So, you know, we generally, we look at our soft costs being somewhere around a third of the total project costs, which would bring the total project cost up to, I mean, obviously, if 65 is 2/3, the total is around 100 million. But Hans, the district has, I'm sorry, the college has not yet committed to a number, at least not to my knowledge. I know that
they have not.
Okay. Well, there
that's
are also
part
a couple of city council members who are working directly with the college.
Is the school district comfortable with a junior college having a performing arts center in the middle of its campus, or would this be the junior college building a facility for a junior high school and high school, middle school?
We would most likely do this as like what we did with the John Adams Performing Arts Center, which is that the college would fund a portion of this and we would build it. The district would build it, would be responsible for design, building, operation, and everything for it, and it would just be funded by the college. Now, one of the things, and I'll talk about this. Let me talk about this in a moment. But trying to find the appropriate educational nexus between the college and the construction is a challenge. But I'll talk about that in a second.
That brings me to this question, because a lot of parents, I don't share this view, but think that it's age inappropriate to have middle school kids in 6th grade with kids who shave.
Yes.
On the football field. Now you're talking about kids in their 20s, 30s, and 40s at a performing arts center in the heart of the Malibu High School campus. How are you going to assuage? I personally don't have a problem with that, but some people do. How are you going to assuage them?
Let me talk about that in just a moment after I talk about sort of what the space would look like.
Right.
I think
I do want to cover that. I just don't want to sort of say, so this would be this new theater with a pre-function space here before the drop-off pickup area. There'd also be the parking over here. The space we're looking at right now has multiple sort of flexibility. So it has a lot of different ways that it can be played, you know, with retractable seating and movable seating. So thrust stage, a full multi-purpose space in the round. So it really can serve a lot of things and also serve, and these would all move, which allows the floor to go flat, which allows for, you know, having a full flat floor if we need. You know, here's sort of some other sketches to sort of show you what that would look like and sort of how it would play in different ways. It also could be a film studio, filming space, you know, so music, film, it's not always a traditional theater space. It's much more adaptable. Here's just a rendering of what it could look like in the space. And then sort of a couple of other views of what these spaces could look like. So the question really is, you know, the college would not be directly looking at having classes. I mean, during the day, certainly during the day and in the afternoon times when this space would be used, it wouldn't also be college classes. You know, it would be looking at how we could make our enrollment work, increase our enrollment to support this. You know, so, but we wouldn't be but we would be talking about potentially some after school, evening and weekend college, but they're not even really thinking they can get that many students out here on a college, college classes. So what they're really looking at is how our enhanced performance art and visual performance and media arts program sort of lends itself and develops enough to the point that it then aligns with building up the district, which then aligns with building up the college. The thread of the connection of that importance for Prop 39 purposes of that educational thing is a bit of a challenge, and it's one we're going to sort of have to knit because it does not exist. Whenever they supported the Performing Arts Center at John Adams, it's across the street. They had specific performances that they, and activities they needed. It was filling a gap. They didn't need to build the theater because it was there. So they were able to, that line of the 20 million they gave us to build that building was really easy to make. This one's going to be a lot harder to sort of craft. And that's something we're going to have to try to do to make it more worthwhile. And I also think that affects a little bit on how the funding line works.
Carrie, is a short answer that college kids won't be there during the school day?
That is the short answer based on what has been discussed so far.
Okay.
They're going to.
I don't want to commit to that, but I say everything that's been discussed so far, college kids would not be there during the school day.
So they're going to come up with $100 million for a facility their students won't use during the day.
I don't know.
That's why I think that the 100 million.
I don't think those numbers are accurate. But let me call Paul because he's had to stand up for a while.
Yeah.
I think it's valuable to think of this as can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, you're good.
It's valuable to think of this as an advanced placement class.
Mm-hmm.
Classes would be taught there for leading to college credit, maybe even with instructors from the college.
Yep.
But what it really comes down to, Hans, is the money that the city of Malibu is going to donate to this bond issue. The idea is to get as much of it as possible spent in Malibu on something that will benefit the kids who will someday go to a four-year school or go to the city college.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm all for it. Don't get me wrong, but it just seems to be a real stretch to. Here's what I'm worried about: the district is not going to give us $100 million. We're going to have to go out and get another bond issue to complete the Performing Arts Center, and maybe phase 3 and 4 beyond that. Mm-hmm. And then the question would be, how are you going to tell us to the people who want college students on the campus? And it's just an issue. It's not a problem for me, but good luck.
Do you have difficulty with an advanced placement classes being taught by college instructors for high school students?
I have no problem. I don't have a problem with college students on the campus, frankly. Personally, I think that's a good mix.
That's too bad, because there aren't going to be any there during the day.
Understood.
But I think.
But there was. I could tell you there was a lot of discussion, and Steve and Carrie were part of it during the design of these buildings, literally to make sure that the middle school and the high school were separated enough. And because the issue that you're talking about was a very prevalent issue when our kids were going to school, and and I think it's been resolved a certain amount of ways. But let me ask one more question. What I'd like to do is add to our agenda an update on this, whether you want to call it the Performing Arts Center or something. But ultimately, this is something that could cost us money, and it's going to be Malibu money. And let's see if we can add that item to our agenda so we're always within the framework of the Brown Act, et cetera.
I think what we'll do is we'll add just a Malibu campus plan update. All phases of the campus plan will be covered under that, Lou, if that's okay.
Okay, that's fine with me.
Okay.
Any other questions? Steve, it's all up to you.
All right. So at Malibu and Webster Elementary, we don't have a ton going on. We are, I think we're wrapping up the, Carrie, I don't think this was a bond project, but the the Malibu Elementary playground, or what was the swing set?
Webster.
No, I think it was at Malibu. We had
Malibu Elementary. We did the whole playground. We have, I mean, I can address a couple of things that are non-bond things that are just happening there, just so you could hear.
Well, I think as leaders in the community, it's probably a good idea.
Yeah, just so you hear what it is. Yeah. So over December, over the December rains, we had some water intrusion in one classroom that we regularly had, and we had a little bit of mold growth. So we did clear out that. We were able to move kids away from that classroom. We abated it properly. We resealed the wall. Behind that, we are doing a little bit of landscaping work. There are a couple of big pine trees that are not seen so much from the street. We're taking those down and having to regrade the soil to create so that we keep the water and the pine needles and everything out from that. So that work is happening and should be completed before the next major rains. We're also, the entire blacktop is being redone. That's in process, it's almost completed. The new shade structures in the middle of that campus are being done. These are all maintenance projects. And then our fence around the campus was looking a little questionable. And then we had a drunk driver run into it at the corner of Fernhill and Gray Fox. So we're going to be replacing that fence, though we'll keep it, we're talking right now that we'll keep it at a standard 6-foot level. There was some comment about taking it higher for security reasons, but we feel like in that area, in the place, if you're going to go over a 6, you're going to go over, if you're going to go over an 8, you're going to go, you know, it doesn't matter the difference. But the problem right now is the fence, because of soil and other things, is some places it's 6.5 and other places it's 4.5. And so it's real easy to step over in some places. So we'll make it a consistent 6. And we're looking at trying to make it a nicer fence. So that's going to be happening. These are all maintenance projects that are coming along. Some of them are already done. Some will be completed very soon for school to start up. And that's there at Webster. Mostly what we have going on at Webster is that we had a couple of plumbing projects. We painted the auditorium. It needed painting, and we upgraded their garden area. So that's happened in the last few months, is that we went in and did a whole thing on the garden to make the garden nice. And those were the projects that were scheduled for Webster this summer. Security and safety. Oh, do you want any questions about those two schools? Then the other thing we're doing is we're adding in the new bell clocks and alarm systems, PA systems. And those are going in right now at both Webster and Malibu Elementary School. We have a little delay getting all the pieces, but those are, you know, digital clocks with a digital display. If we have a lockdown situation, it can be communicated. Also better communications, PA systems, so you can hear clearly what somebody is saying. So those are being added into all spaces at the elementary schools. And that's happening right now, I think. Just to say, I'll add this to safety and security, is since the events in Texas at Uvalde, we of course have taken another look at both at the post-action item, the action response of what happened there, and we're taking a look at how facilities can create a better space. I know there's another thing that's happening on personnel, but on our end, we could just talk about facilities. We're looking at how we can harden our exterior and make sure we're following good protocols to maintain our facilities.
Jarrell?
And also with that, I mean, we have the issue over at Malibu High with, let's just say, a lot of neighbors from Clover Heights. They think that the upper fields are a pet park. So just make sure that that is something that is addressed, where the neighbor can't come and cut the lock or anything of that sort. And another conversation may, of course, be an additional security, because it is a large landmass, but please look into that for Clover Heights area and the softball and soccer field back there.
Yeah, we do have a persistent problem with certain people feeling like it's their pet park, you know, and one of those people being the one who is most against us having any access to that area. So yeah, we have a little challenge there.
Well, his friend who's on the planning commission actually came out and says that there should be no access to Clover Heights from there, which is great, but that means no access for his buddy either.
Or for the horses that we use the equestrian trail. I think John was trying to kill two birds with one stone. What he really wanted to do was improve security as well as eliminate the little parking lot that we had proposed up there. And so he tried to do both of those at once by saying the only access is from Morning View Drive. But I think that there are some real issues with that. I've spoken to John. He understands that we can resolve the first and we have removed I should have pointed that out. We have removed our request for the, I think it was parking lot F, that's real small parking lot we had up there. That's been removed from the specific plan and won't be going forward. But we do need to still have some access up there. But I think, Jarrell, your point is well made. And we recognize that, we've got to do what we can to protect the campus overall, including its uses, like for the softball team or soccer teams that don't really want to run through dog poop. Right.
And it's I know it's challenging too, because, my daughter plays softball over in that field. And if you have any kind of vendor truck or anything, I mean, it's perfect for them to go Clover Heights, versus if they have any kind of fundraising activity, they got to go past the tennis court and all the way down. So it's, something that just, needs to be addressed with the security too.
Thank you.
Yeah, my daughter spent a lot of time up on those fields too, and getting to them without going through that top area is very, very difficult. But yeah. Do we have any other questions? Are we done with the items on our agenda?
We are. We've tentatively set our next meeting for September 21st.
Okay.
At some point, we might want to meet on site. I don't think this group has met yet in person, so I don't think we've met, for example, in the new AB buildings that we built. So we might want to do that, and I don't know if that'll be September or December, but I'll work with you, Lou. We'll figure out when and where to do that.
Yeah. Let's see if we can do it in September when it's still light earlier, so we could do that, and then we also, could walk out, at least sort of point to where the new building will be going, and and have a little bit better experience of, and walk it and see it, as opposed to.
And hopefully we won't be able to see the Cabrillo buildings by that point.
We'll hope.
Actually, around that time, we may have story poles up.
Yeah, good. Sometime around that. I mean, I'm hoping that, then in October we'll do an official groundbreaking,
So we'll obviously, when we do a groundbreaking, of course, all of you will be invited. But as for our next meeting, Lou, if we could do that on site, I think that would be. I think Carrie's right. That would be ideal.
Let's tentatively assign that now. I mean, it's, we're still in June. Yeah. So anything can happen between now and then. Hopefully we get approved, which would be even better.
It would be. We celebrate.
Yeah.
Okay, if we have no other questions and no other business, then I'll accept a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you all very much. You have all my numbers, Steve, right?
I do. Thank you, Lou.
Thank you, Lou.
My pleasure. Thank you.
And thank you, Jarrell.
Congratulations.
For sure. Thank you. Thank you, the chair.
All right, everyone. Have a great evening.
Yes,
thank you all.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Paul.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Carrie.